What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and I hope you're all doing well today. For your Rogue preview pleasure, I have some testing footage of the two special weapons waiting for us in the Sanctum of Domination, the Edge of Night Dagger off of Sylvanas, and the Cruciform Veinripper off of Painsmith Raznal. Both of these weapons have unique proc effects and are finally able to be tested. Please note, this is one of the first looks we've managed to get at these, and they might be a little over or undertuned, or they might have some weird issues, which I'll try to go over in this video as best as I can. Meaning it's entirely possible for these weapons to change in performance or just the way they work at all before 9.1 launches, or even in the weeks after 9.1 launches once they start doing some tuning, just as a heads up. To cut right to the chase, we'll go over the Edge of Night daggers first, as these are the highest item level dagger in the game since they come from the final boss of the Sanctum of Domination, Sylvanas Windrunner. The Edge of Night has a special effect. Your attacks apply Banshee's Blight, giving your finishing moves a 3% chance per combo point spent to deal shadow damage. Banshee's Blight stacks up to 4 times as the target becomes more injured. So that sounds really cool and all, but how does it actually work? Well, currently from testing, it goes a little something like this. As you damage a target and lower its health, stacks of Banshee's Blight will build up on them. The duration of Banshee's Blight is currently a permanent debuff, and it adds a stack when you first hit the target, and then when you drop the target below health percent thresholds at 75%, 50%, and 25%. Now here's where things get weird and, as some might say, spicy. It's hard to tell which parts of this effect are intentional or not, so I'll just let you know right now how it seems to be working. Okay, so normally with a 5 combo point finisher and 1 stack of Banshee's Blight on the target, you'd have a 15% chance for the free shadow damage hit to occur. The number of times the enemy is hit with the Banshee's Blight debuff depends on how many stacks it has. So, for example, if you're in execute range and the enemy's at 4 stacks and you get a Banshee's Blight proc to occur, it'll actually hit the enemy 4 times for that shadow damage, resulting in way more overall damage during execute phases of boss fights. It also appears that each of these hits from Banshee's Blight has its own separate crit chance. The DPS gain from the Edge of Night gets even more compounded if you're dual wielding them though, as the damage seems to double from the debuff and the proc rate does too, resulting in really beefy DPS gains, like almost 4 times as much in overall damage dealt, which definitely seems unorthodox and most likely unintended. I think the damage doubling makes sense if you're wearing 2 daggers, but the proc chance doubling is dubious at best. Moving over to the fist weapon, we have the Cruciform Veinripper. This is another free damage proc weapon, but with a bit of interesting requirements. Basically, you need to either be behind your target, the target needs to be suffering from some sort of a crowd control effect, or their movement needs to be impaired. If any of these 3 conditions are met, your attacks will have a chance to put a decent-sized bleed on your target that lasts for 6 seconds. From what I can tell, this weapon is functioning exactly as I would expect it to, since rogues can apply crippling poison, which means if the target that we're attacking is able to be slowed, we will always have a chance for this bleed to proc regardless of where we are standing on the target. This bleed is actually pretty impressive in terms of damage output, though it does have the negative side effects of needing to either meet a positional requirement on your target, which isn't always possible, or the target has to be able to suffer from a crowd control or movement impairment. This can potentially make the weapon not quite as effective as it could be, though there might be some spells or debuffs that other classes can apply to raid bosses where we can't slow them, and I'd have to do a bit more testing and research to see if it's possible or not. Either way, the damage is pretty potent, and I could see this being a very desirable main hand weapon choice for outlaw rogues, whereas in their current state, the Sylvanas Daggers have a lot of weird stuff going on, so it's a bit early to say exactly how much damage output either of these weapons are intended to offer. Don't get me wrong, free damage is always good damage in my book, but it also makes it kind of a feels bad moment when you're the one rogue in the group that can't get these frickin' fist weapons or this dagger to drop or something like that. There's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes with both of these weapons, like I'm sure the fist weapon is affected by like haste for the bleed and versatility and stuff like that. But either way, I hope this fills all you rogues in a bit more about how these 2 proc weapons are looking from the Sanctum of Domination raid. Again, it's a little too early to say exactly how badass these weapons are gonna be, but this first look at them makes them very enticing to want to get immediately, even at a potential item level loss to do it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, maybe, I don't know, leave a like or a comment or something if you want, or maybe even swing by my community Discord if you want to stop in and say hi or ask any questions. It's always tremendously appreciated and helpful to the channel's growth. And as always, my appreciation and gratitude to all of my viewers and especially my patrons, who all help make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.